625 will give you a chance to win our free money question of the day coming up in a little while. And that's from the Hobica Law Firm. We'll get to that. Here it is, a Wednesday morning. I was so tempted to go into and like shorts weather. It's shorts weather now. I mean, we're into the 70s. But as you go through the rest of the forecast, the next 10, 15 days, what are you seeing?
Everything above 50. I mean, we're looking at 50 as a minimum. I think there's one day that I might have saw 48, but the forecast changes so quickly. I'm checking right now.
50s, upper 40s, some 60s. I'll take it for the springtime.
This is great.
Let's see here. I got a bunch of Donald Trump stuff, but I'll wait to get in on that. Hulk Hogan was in court yesterday, and once again, in the national news, the size of a man's
hands,
comes into play. This whole thing is, don't you think this involves his friend Bubba, this Hulk Hogan trial that's going on. It involves his friend Bubba, who's a radio personality in Florida. And that's Bubba the Love Sponge.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And he's kind of like this redneck radio personality who has huge numbers.
Right.
And, pretty crass and all that. It's more of a shock type thing. And Bubba apparently had this relationship with Hulk Hogan's wife, and they're not together. And then the videotape ended up on Gawker. Was it Gawker that ended up doing it? Now Gawker is being sued by Hulk Hogan because they're saying you should not have aired this videotape, and Gawker is saying, well, we have every right to do it. It was a news story, and that gives us the right to do it. And now Gawker is carrying the trial. So if you wanted to see this trial, you could log on to Gawker. They're carrying the trial, streaming it live.
The issue is,
and they're saying that if the Hulk Hogan wins this lawsuit, it'll put Gawker out of business.
Is the issue that his sex tape came out?
It is the tape of Bubba the Love Sponge. I mean, I can't believe I feel like this has become like a WWF world. It's Bubba the Love Sponge,
right, and
Hulk Hogan's wife. The tape is of.
Okay.
But somehow it got into the trial yesterday, got into the attributes of Hulk Hogan. And turns out there's been a lot of exaggeration, according to the testimony from yesterday.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, I'm not even gonna play the clip, but it is out there. Hard for me to get rid of Donald Trump stuff because I have so much Donald Trump stuff here. How about this reporter in San Francisco doing a live report yesterday, and was nearly hit by a car while the camera was running. Two cars crashed into each other right behind him, and one ran off the road. He and the camera operator both jumped away and barely avoided being run over. You kind of worry about this. Remember the scene where the reporter and the cameraman were shot and killed? You remember that happened last year?
Yeah.
It's difficult when you're out doing this, and if you've ever been interviewed or anything like that, and the camera, you're completely hyper-focused on what you're doing. And especially if you're near the road, it's a little nervous. You get a little nervous. Unnerving because you have behind you don't know what's happening. If somebody's texting and drifting off the side of the road, they could hit you, and that's kind of what happened here. Listen, yeah, it's pretty bad. And amazing how they have the beeps right out there on the road, ready to go.
Oh, I know,
right there.
So he didn't get hit, did he?
No. There's interesting stuff coming out. I know I did a lot of Beatles yesterday, but I'm going to have to do a little more today. As George Martin, the legendary Beatles producer, passed away yesterday. Considered the fifth Beatle because he produced all of the Beatles albums and singles except Let It Be, which was Phil Spector, if you remember. He had a huge influence on their sound by adding different instruments and complex real arrangements that involved an orchestra, and it was very, very different. After they broke up, he worked with Paul McCartney and also did the Love album in 2006. No details on his death yet, but he was 90 years old. Here he is talking about double-tracking John Lennon's vocals and adding brass and strings, legendary moments for the Beatles, to Strawberry Fields Forever. Listen to this. It's amazing, the brilliance. And there's an interesting story, too, behind George Martin's piano solo in My Life from the Rubber Soul album. He couldn't play the piano at the speed it needed to be played the way he himself had written it, basically because he wasn't that good of he wasn't that good at playing piano. So he took a little wind-up piano, played the notes at half speed but an octave lower, recorded it at 15 inches per second, and then ran back the tape at 30 inches per second, so the notes were right perfect and the perfect speed, and this is what resulted. Anybody care about this, or is this just me?
No, I think
I
it's
think it's really
interesting.
cool.
That's choppy, though. That playback is choppy, isn't it?
Because
But that's the style that he was going for.
Sounds like it skips.
Lenaski, that's great.
cute.
Here is the original. Here is the original recording. I think Lennon could have sang a little better on that, don't you think? I mean, come on, give me a
I
break.
think today's technology that would have sounded different and probably better. And he
Okay,
would have got the
I'm
effect
just
he was
gonna
looking for.
Shut your microphone off. Actually, I do have to say that on a synthesizer the other night during the show at the Stanley Theater, the keyboardist duplicated that sound exactly, but he played it live, so he was able to do it electronically. But here's the original solo at half speed and an octave lower.